Okay. Share screen and... Okay, hello everyone. So I wanted to go over some of the important points on the book of Job because you're going to have an essay coming up soon and you're going to have to compare the book to the movie, which is like a modern adaptation of the book of Job. So I just have a few questions here, like 6 of them that I want to really just go over. So does everyone have their like Oxford annotated Bibles? Yeah? Okay, sure. So I wanted to first talk about in chapter 1 in the prologue story, and I think we might have gone over this in class a little bit, but the idea of testing Job's righteousness. Where does righteousness come from, and like what does it mean? Like does anybody have any ideas?
Yeah, in class, we were talking about how righteousness is found in the relationship with God and like a gift from God, and who it's a person who does God's duties.
Okay. Um so following God's commandments, and also it's partly a gift from God to be considered righteous. Also, so the main idea is Job righteous for its own sake or for rewards from God? And we think that he is truly righteous because that's just how he is. He's being moral. Okay, now I really want to move on to the positions of the 3 different comforters, because this is going to be really important in how you understand the Deuteronomistic theology of blessings and curses. So could anyone like, I guess, go to chapter 4 and 5 and think about how Eliphaz regards Job's righteousness and piety? Also, do you think breaking you out into breakout rooms would help just like the conversation going and then coming back and sharing from there? So I'm getting a no. Anybody else? I no? Okay, we can totally stay here. So in if you go to chapter 4 and if you look at how this first friend approaches Job's righteousness and suffering, what do you think you, I guess, get from that? I'll give you a minute to like, find everything. Um, any ideas? Okay, I feel like breakout rooms just might make people like more comfortable discussing, so I might just do that, just for now. And I have sent everyone the link to the Google Doc on the chat, so I'm gonna see if I can do that. Okay.
I'm on an SI. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Okay,
Sorry, Phoebe.
that's totally fine. um, so Phoebe, do you have like, I guess, like the Bible like with you and stuff?
Yeah, I have it like right here.
Okay. um, so like if you like, I guess, skimmed the like initial part of Eliphaz's speech, especially like if you look at the Google Doc, I think I said what was really important was how he saw Job's righteousness and piety. Like, I guess the idea is, does Eliphaz think Job is innocent?
I think he does think that he'd have to like do something really bad because he's trying to figure out like why he could have possibly offended God. I think he is thinking that he's innocent just because they're trying to get to the root of the problem, I guess. Yeah. And he's also saying like was there anyone innocent who ever perished? So I guess I don't know, like at the same time I guess he's kind of wondering like, oh, what did Job do in order to deserve the bad things that are happening?
I definitely think so, because like he comes from a society that really like thinks that you must have sin to like understand anything else, to get I'm sorry, the P and Q thing. Also, I feel like this is a very small session, so I think I'm gonna move this to the big room because this doesn't make sense. Okay. Hello, I just feel like the breakout rooms were a little bit uneven, so I was wondering if we could do the same thing here. So Savina and I guess Kristen and Sari, how did your breakout room go in regards to the first question?
It was good. We just talked about how Eliphaz probably was like trying to justify God's his reasons for giving him so much suffering, and he was like, you probably did something in order for him to do this. So we just talked about that.
I guess like how was his tone to Job? Like was it like supportive? Was it like harsh or like pretty kind or like anything about that?
He was definitely not kind. Like he was just trying to like basically put his reasoning, because he wasn't trying to listen to him as much. That's what I got out of it too. He was being harsh on even his like side of the story. Like he was just trying to be, no matter what he said, he wasn't listening and would try to justify God's actions.
What about the point in which he appeals to Revelation of 4:12? Like he claims that he heard from God, that that's why like he's supposed to, you know, like good people get blessings and bad people get curses. Like what do you think is the significance of appealing to Revelation? Anybody can, you know, jump in. What about the authority that he's trying to show? That's like a hint.
Who's he? Are you talking about
Eliphaz.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's talking to Job, and then he tells him that he heard from God, and that's why he's talking to him. So, okay, I'm just gonna jump in then to that. He's trying to close off Job's argument by saying, I heard from God. Clearly, my view is more authoritative because it came from God. And you can't really argue with that. So you kind of have to take it. So I just thought that was like kind of interesting to see that. What about this third question? Does everyone have like the doc open, or should I just screen share it? I can do that. What about the position of Bildad? It's in chapter 8. It's mostly just 2 verses that I really want to look at. Okay, let's look at 8:3. And when he asks Job, does God pervert justice, or does the Almighty pervert the right? So I guess he's asking him, do you really think that God would be unrighteous to you? Do you really think that he would give you something that you say you don't deserve? Anything else anyone noticed about Bildad? any okay, how about his tone? Do you think it's more harsh and more authoritative, or I guess like do you think it's more patronizing maybe as compared to Eliphaz? I'll take guesses. I think we need to keep moving. So
Most of his like he's mostly like asking questions to Job.
So what is his main point? Again, I think it's the idea of blessings and curses. Like if you do good, you get blessed. If you do bad, you get cursed. But I feel like Bildad is more harsher than Eliphaz in that he is less sure that Job is actually righteous. So I guess he like says in 8:20, see, God will not reject a blameless person nor take the hand of evil doers. And that's like he's like I guess questioning that Job truly is righteous, and he doesn't really believe him as much as Eliphaz does. um I'm just gonna quickly go through Zophar because it's a little bit shorter, um just so we can move on and to the like more important things. I'm just gonna talk about Zophar. So Zophar definitely is more severe than Eliphaz and Bildad. Like it just keeps on getting worse as the I guess the story like goes on. And he thinks that Job is suffering again because he must have done something bad, and like he also talks about how Job is very limited as a human. Like if you see 11:7, you see, can you find out the deep things of God? Can you find out the limit of the Almighty? So again, he's chastising him for his ego for overstepping his human bounds. But these three friends, or I think we can just call them friends with apostrophe, um, what about Elihu in chapters 30, that's wrong, 32 to 37? Um he shows a really different view. I think I would recommend focusing on the verses that I put on the doc: 33:12 to 13, 34:17, and 36:7 to 9. And I'll actually give you a few minutes to go over this because I really think it's important to read that yourself. Oh, sorry. I like totally switched my screen and I forgot I'm still screen sharing. Does anyone have any observations on how Elihu is different from Eliphaz, Bildad, or Zophar?
He's basically saying, or like I think he's saying that God is greater than everything, so Job shouldn't like question his, or like question his actions and like decisions.
Okay. Um, what about why he thinks Job is suffering? I want to talk about his view on how righteousness is doesn't mean unsinfulness. Because I feel like a lot of people, when they think someone is righteous, they automatically assume that the person is free of sin. Um, but that isn't really true. Like, for example, we have a lot of other people in the Bible that we think of, like King David, for example, who's really like powerful and blessed by God, and he's definitely like in a position of power because God wanted that to happen. But at the same time, he's flawed because, you know, he basically like steals his friend's wife and stuff like that. So if you look at 36 7 to 9, I'm going to just read it. He does not withdraw his eyes from the righteous, but with kings on the throne he sets them forever, and they are exalted. And if they are bound in fetters and caught in the cords of affliction, then he declares to them their work and their transgressions, that they are behaving arrogantly. So, like, what does that mean? So, I think what that means, at least from what I can see, is that righteous people are also susceptible to sinful behavior because all humans are sinful. Like, that's the main difference between us and God. I mean, we're limited and we're flawed, and none of us are completely perfect. And I think the idea that Elihu is trying to put out is our suffering sometimes is God trying to chastise us, maybe try to lead us back to the right path. And it's not necessarily a curse because you did something bad. It might just be like discipline or education or warning. And sometimes you might not know, but the main point is the idea of if you are bad, then you will be cursed is not what Elihu thinks. Any other like observations on Elihu? What about why does he chastise Job for trying to take God to court?
Because taking God to court would mean like seeing himself as equal to God, and that can be seen as.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's overstepping the acceptable bounds. Like, the other three friends actually were correct in one thing. Job was not fearing God enough, and that's definitely significant because by forgetting God's position and his position, he is definitely sinning, and his sin is hubris, which is, you know, like elevating self-elevation to the sphere of like the divine. Like, humans are not equal to God, and that's something that Job kind of forgot. So I want to go to number 6, which is like our last question, but you know, I think there's a lot to unpack here. Thoughts, I guess, just like looking at the question, why does Job want to take God to court, and does he think he will get vindication if he does that? Does anyone else want to answer?
Maybe possibly because he just like, maybe he just really wants to know like what he did.
Well, I think he is very firm on the fact that he didn't do anything bad. He genuinely believes that he has followed all of the commandments, hasn't broken anything, and he's righteous. So I think rather than trying to figure out what he did bad, I think it's more of like, why did God curse me if I'm innocent? Is God unrighteous? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. What about, like, do you think he's gonna get vindication? Like, does he truly believe that if he argues with God and tries to take him to court and like have like, I guess, a defense lawyer, will he really get vindication from God? Will he be proved righteous? Because what needs to happen in a law, and like, for example, in a court case, for one side to win, what must happen? Well, the other side needs to lose, and that's like, that means for Job's righteousness to be proved, God's unrighteousness would have to be proved. His, like, you know, his righteousness would have to be found not true. Also, I want to quickly look at 9:15. Does anybody want to look at that? Though I am innocent, I cannot answer him. I must appeal for mercy to my accuser. What does anybody like? What do you think that means?
I think he's basically saying he can't find a way to like talk to God and like tell him what he's done wrong, so he is trying to find a way to show his innocence.
Okay, yeah. Why do you think he does not want to appeal for mercy? Because like an appeal is like if you think of it in a legal like case, an appeal is when I guess you're guilty, but you say that initially so that you're hoping for like a lesser charge. So by doing that, you're admitting your guilt, but you're asking like for a lesser charge, like so you can do that. So Job is extremely confident that he is like has not sinned. That's like another point I wanted to make. Okay, did anybody notice the importance / irony of 9:32-33? I think we talked about this in class today. So Job asks for a defense attorney against God in the divine court. Why is that both important and ironic? Does anyone have any thoughts on that?
It's ironic because he's taking God to court, and God is really the like final judge.
Yeah, because how do you sue the judge in a court case, right? So again, it just talks about how impossible it is to really like argue with God and like as an equal. That's not really possible. That's not how justice works. Okay, I wanted to talk about the actual term for the defense attorney, or the goel in Hebrew, and it kind of refers to someone who's like a redeemer. Can you come up with any possible like we were talking about how there's different ways on interpreting the Bible from different lenses, and like all this time we were coming from like a Jewish perspective. What about from like a Christian perspective? Because I think this is something that a lot of later Christians have looked to interpret for the need for like a reconciliator. Can anybody like come up with thoughts on how they would interpret that? Any guesses?
The only guess that I have is like you have to act good to get good things from God.
I guess I was asking about like the need for a defense attorney to connect with God, to speak with him.
Okay, maybe I was confused.
No, that's totally fine. Like
That's
what?
yeah.
Like if you're coming from like a Christian perspective, what do you think that might be? Like who might that be? And I mean, only
I guess like the priest. I mean, because like I don't know. When I go to confession, I mean, we talk to the priest. So, but I don't really know.
Yeah. That's actually a really cool example, because like in Catholic churches and stuff, we have priests to like act as a mediator between us and God when you confess. What about someone a little bit more famous within the Christian faith? Something really obvious that maybe you're not like thinking of. Yes. A lot of people go back to Job, the later Christian interpreters of the like Old Testament, and they think about how humans can never really like relate to God because they're sinful and they're limited as humans. But Jesus is someone who truly can contend with God because he is part God. And that's why he works as a divine like defense attorney, as a redeemer, as a reconciliator. So I was just thinking it's like a cool way to, you know, to see that. I think for the most part we're like good here for the like what I wanted to go through. Does anyone have any other questions? I think people kind of just disappeared.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, yeah. Okay, any questions for you, Bennett? No? Or no? Okay, if nobody has any more questions, I'm just gonna probably end this meeting. Thanks for like participating, and if you have any more questions they come up with later, like be sure to email me. And over the weekend,
Yeah.
go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, you can keep going.
Yeah, over the weekend, please make sure to watch the movie A Serious Man, because that's what we're gonna discuss on Monday.
Yeah, so I had like a quick question. So like the three guys, I don't know what to call them.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, in the story, do they have like anything, because I already watched the movie, do they have like anything like to parallel, I guess, with like the three, I think he goes to three priests, I think, also. I don't remember.
Okay, I didn't watch the movie yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah.
All right.
I will answer that question on Monday.
So we should be watching the movie this weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched it already. Like.
Yeah, you can totally have watched it already.
Is it on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on.
Yes,
Netflix.
it is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And okay, the one thing I also was, so you were comparing Jesus to, like, you can just give like a really quick response because I was just a little confused. Jesus to who in Job? Yeah.
I thought that I was saying that later Christian interpreters was talking about how Job was looking for a divine defense attorney who could actually mediate between him and God, and Jesus was like supposed to be the symbol of that person who could mediate between humans and God, because you know humans are like mortal and sinful and God's like up there and divine. So Jesus is both, and he has the authority to do it.
He has both of the. Like,
and he has the authority to actually go and, I guess, debate God and mediate. That's all I was saying. I thought it was a cool like reference to put in there, but it's not really like, that's definitely not what Jewish people were thinking for sure, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Yeah, sure. Bye.